I'm going to go over all the uniques, where their spawn location is for each boss, and what boss drops what, as well as some of the stats within those uniques and what they drop overall, as well as which to target farm for Sorcerer specifically. We'll also go over some of the drop rates or what we're seeing overall for those drop rates, and try to cover all the loot within those bosses for Sorcerer itself. What's up world, it's Utopia back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Diablo 4. I also want to go over what tools I use for my build planners as well as build guides, which brings us to today's video sponsor. Mobalytics is an insanely intuitive and innovative app that lets you deep dive into an incredible amount of useful tools for all your build creation needs. And this free application, and yes, you heard me right, it is completely free. This app has helped me so much with my build creations and comparing and contrasting different statistics. I was able to find incredibly interesting and different unique builds compared to mine, and even got to try out Crip's ultimate fire sword. I love being able to glance over at my stat priorities and build priorities just right within the game. And the new highly anticipated build planner is available now to use directly in-app. And this allows me to completely redefine my build and plan out new strategies without having to use any of my precious gold. Again, you can download for free using my link down below. Thank you again to Mobalytics for sponsoring this video. Okay, so jumping back into things, let's get on to the first boss, the easiest one, or typically the one that people do run, which is Varshan. Although seemingly with this patch there is a bit of an easier one, but I'll go over that later, at least with how many drops that you do get for that, the materials. So first up, let's go over to the location, which is right next to the Whisper's tree. This is at the Malignant Burrow. Once you head inside, as always, they do have the platform to summon it. However, this one does require the Gurgling Head, a Blackened Femur, Trembling Hand, and a Malignant Heart. These items can be found when opening a cache you receive from completing Grim Favors of Tree Whispers. There's also a few other ways, like completing the Seasonal Journey rewards, or even defeating Grotesque Debtors, which can have a chance to spawn after completing the Whispers quests around the open world, and these items can also be crafted at the Alchemist. They can also drop from elites, local events, Whisper caches, treasure goblins, and the new Hellborn enemies in Hell Tides. Although again, a lot of these sources are pretty RNG with that stuff, so in my opinion, Varshan is not the easiest to summon this time. Now quickly for the Tormented version, you will need 3 Gurgling Heads, 3 Blackened Femurs, 3 Trembling Hands, 3 Malignant Hearts, and 2 Stygia Stone, which gets you 5 times more loot. Now for the drop tables, especially for Sorcerer, as well as those 2 that do drop for all classes. So for Sorcerer, you have the Staff of Endless Rage. Next up, we do have Isu's Heirloom. Next up, we've had the Remnant of the Infinite, Tal Rashaw's Iridescent Loop, which is the one that you should be seeking after. This is going to be used on basically every Sorceress and Sorcerer build, so this is the one that you should be target farming specifically, and also, of course, trying to net that highest possible roll. 2 last ones here that apply to all classes are the Frostborn and the Mother's Embrace. And also, Varshan can net you a Mucus Slick Egg if you do summon that boss, which you can use for Duriel. Jumping over, let's head to Lord Zur's location. This is at the Darkened Way, which is southeast of the Kyovashad waypoint. Again, of course, as always, there's a pedestal, and you will need the Exquisite Blood to summon this. The baseline version will require 9 Exquisite Blood. These can be mainly gotten from completing Legion events, also by defeating world bosses in the open world. And since Season 4, you can now get them from elites, local events, Whisper caches, treasure goblins, and the new Hellborn enemies from Hell Tides. The Tormented version will require 27 Exquisite Blood and 2 Stygian Stone. Again, moving on to his loot table for Sorceress, as well as those all classes. For Sorcerer specifically, he can drop Staff of the Endless Rage, the Ice Heart Brais, Remnant of the Infinite, Essador's Overflowing Cameo, and then the big one here is the Fractured Winterglass, which if you are playing a Frozen Orb build, and I have one on my channel, you will want to target farm this specifically heavily, as this is mostly and mainly used for the Frozen Orb build. Moving on to the all classes, we do have the Penitent Greaves, Razor Plate, then we have Temerity, and then last up here we have Yen's Blessing, which is a brand new addition to Season 4. Yen's Blessing I also do use, and I really like this new unique. Definitely think it's the one that you should be target farming as well, and it is a fairly rare drop from what I've noticed. Now with Season 4, we do have Uber Andariel, who does drop Sand Scorched Shackles. This is a new resource that will again be used to summon Andariel. Moving on, we have the Beast in the Ice boss, which because of leveling and everybody going through Nightmare Dungeons, this is actually the one that I think is the easiest to get now, or the easiest to do, as you will need Distilled Fear, and I've had a ton of it from doing Nightmare Dungeons. You will need 9 Distilled Fear and 250 Sigil Powder in order to craft this. This is different from all the other bosses. You will need to actually craft this Nightmare Sigil. It is a tier 31 Nightmare Dungeon that you will craft using those materials, as you'll head over to the Oculus and craft that. Then all you have to do there is right click on that sigil, open up your map, and it will teleport you to the dungeon. Now with this one, there is no pedestal. You have to go through a little bit of the dungeon, and once you get to the boss room, it will just spawn. The tormented version will require 27 distilled fear, 250 sigil powder, so no increase with the sigil powder itself, but you'll also need those 2 Stygian stone. Moving on to the drops, he does have the Staff of Lam Isin. He also drops Isu's Heirloom, Gloves of the Illuminator, the Oculus, Starfall Coronet, and then moving on for the all-class drops, he can drop Frostburn, Mother's Embrace, Fists of Fate, and then new with Season 4, he can drop the Pangorger's Gauntlets, and then last but not least, the Tessets of the Dawning Sky. This boss also can drop the Pincushion Doll. This is also a resource used to summon Andariel. Next up, we do have Grigoire and his location, Dungeon Hall of Penitent. This is located in the Dry Steppes area just south of Kent Bardu. This one does have a pedestal. Once you head in, it will require Living Steel. This will require 5 Living Steel for the normal version, which you can get from Helltides, except Helltides this time around do last every hour and they're not switching or every other hour. The highest amount will be from the Tortured Gift of Living Chest, and all Tortured Chests will offer some type of Living Steel amount. And then again, with Season 4, they can now drop from Elites, local events, Whisper Caches, Treasure Goblets, and the new Hellborn enemies from Helltides. For the Tormented version, you will need 15, so 3 times as much, and 2 Stygian Stone. Moving on to his drop table, we do have that Staff of Lam Isin, the Iceheart Brais, Gloves of the Illuminator, Flame Weaver, which is brand new to Season 4, and then last up here for the all classes, we have the Penitent Grieve. And again, if you are the person summoning this boss, you will receive a Shard of Agony. This can be used in combination with the Varshan boss in order to summon Duriel. Now last up here, we do have the 2 Uber bosses. With one of those being brand new to Season 4, however, we'll cover Uber Duriel first. And again, as we went over before, you will need those drops from Varshan as well as Grigoire in order to summon Duriel. So again, if you are the one summoning Varshan, you will receive a Mucus Egg. You will need 2 of those for the Duriel summon, and then you will need 2 Shards of Agony, which you get 1 each from summoning Grigoire. The Tormented version will require 6 Mucus Eggs, 6 Shards of Agony, and 2 Stygian Stone. The location is down here at a level 100 dungeon, the Gaping Crevice, which is southeast of the Geocall waypoint. You'll enter in, there's only a few packs of enemies, and then you'll proceed to the Summoning Stone. Now for Sorcerer, he does have 2 uniques here, which are the Flame Scar and the Blue Rose Ring. For all classes here, we do have some really good ones, especially for Sorcerer. The first one here being Godslayer Crown. This one you should definitely be targeting, as it is a really good unique for Sorcerer. Next up, we have Flicker Step, which is another pretty decent one for Sorcerer overall. I don't think it's required for target farming though. Another really good one for Sorcerer is Tybalt's Will, which I do think plays fairly well with overall a certain amount of specs. And I also do use this one with the Frozen Orb build for that resource gen, although you're not getting as many procs as you did with Season 2. Next up, we do have the X-Falls Corroded Signet. Then we have Soulbrand Chest, and last up here we do have the Banished Lord Talisman. Which again, if you're playing Frozen Orb, you're not going to be using that at all. For the Uber uniques for Sorcerer specifically, we do have the Avarian Spear of Lycander. For all classes, we have the Melted Heart of Sillage, and then we have Andariel's Visage, which I think is a really good headpiece other than Godslayer's Crown. Obviously, everyone that's sought after, the Harley Quinn Crest, Ring of Starless Skies, another very rare unique drop or Uber unique drop. And then last up here, we have Tyrael's Might. That covers it for Uber Duriel. Moving on, we will go to the brand new boss, Uber Andariel. Now this boss is located in a level 80 dungeon called Hanged Man's Hall, which is in the Scouring Sands zone of Kyrgyzstan. There again will be a few packs of enemies when you enter the dungeon or the boss area, but then it will be the summoning altar pretty close. In order to summon Uber Andariel, you will need the Sand Scorched Shackles, which drop from Lord Zur, and you will need 2 of those. You will also need 2 Pincushion Dolls, which drop from Beast in the Ice. And then for the Tormented version, you will need 6 Sand Scorched Shackles with 6 Pincushion Dolls and 2 Stygian Stone. For the unique drop table, we do have that Flame Scar and Blue Rose for the Sorcerer. For all classes, it is the exact same for Uber Duriel, where it's the Godslayer Crown, the Flicker Step, Tybalt's Will, X-Falls Corroded Signet, Soulbrand Chest, and the Banished Lord Talisman. And again, it is the exact same drop table for Sorcerer with the Uber uniques, and that is the Avarian Spear of Lycander. For all classes, it's the Melted Heart of Sillage, Andariel's Visage, Harley Quinn Crest, Ring of Starless Skies, and Tyrael's Might. So yeah, it's the exact same drop table as before, at least as far as Sorcerer goes and that all-class section. Obviously, there are some ways to craft these different Uber uniques, as well as just kind of getting different resources. I might go over that in a different video, but that should cover this overall for all the drop tables, as well as their locations and what to target farm. If you enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe, and until the next one. Doses.